candidates who wish to represent Sections 2, Ward 1, and Ward 2 on the Crystal City Council. The general election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. My name is Sue Eisenhart. I'm the Voter Service Chair for the Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters is proud of its history of citizen education in our communities and provides these forums to help you make informed decisions in local elections. LWV is a political organization that does not support or oppose any political candidate or party. We do not assume responsibility for the contents of the candidate's statements. And at this time, if you've not already done so, would you please turn off any cell phones? Only credentialed media may record this event for purpose of news coverage. It is being cablecast on the Crystal City channel and will be replayed. Candidates may not use debate clips in their campaign ads. Our moderator this evening is Joanne Brown, a resident of New Hope and a member of the Crystal New Hope East Plymouth League of Women Voters.
Well, good evening. It's wonderful to see so many of Crystal's finest citizens here tonight. Thank you for being in attendance. And it's a pleasure for us to be here. Please join me in welcoming the candidates as they present their reasons for wanting to serve on the Crystal City Council. Now, they're not all up here right at this point, but tonight we have candidates from Section 2, John Budashevsky and Olga Parsons. They are up here at on the monitors. Then we will have Ward 1, Elizabeth Dahl and Mark Hoffman, and Ward 2, Jeff Kolb and Joseph Selton. So please give them a round of applause for all the efforts. They're putting a lot of efforts into these campaigns for you. The forum for Section 2 candidates will take place until 7:25 p.m. or thereabouts. Candidates from Ward 1 will then take their place from 7:30 to 7:55, and Ward 2 will be approximately 8 o'clock to 8:25. And here's a brief description of the format that we're going to follow tonight. Each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for an opening statement, an opportunity to tell us about themselves and why they are running for a seat on the City Council. Now, following that, members of the audience may ask questions of individual or all candidates. Please write your questions on one of the cards provided and hand it to a league member. Questions submitted online up to the day before the forum will also be included. All candidates may answer any question whether or not it was directed to them. Candidates may take up to 1 minute to answer, and at the end of the question period, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for a concluding statement. This meeting is a forum for their thoughts, and it is not a debate between candidates. The candidates for Section 2 are John Budashevsky and Olga Parsons. The timekeeper will assist you by indicating how much time remains and when to stop. Can you see them clearly?
Yes.
Okay. We'll ask Olga Parsons to begin with her opening statement of 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Olga Parsons, and I ask for your vote to be your next Section 2 Council representative. I am running for City Council because I love Crystal and want to work to make it an even better place to live. As your council representative, my priority will be to engage with our community, not just during election season, but as a lifestyle. By listening and understanding the values of our community, I will strive to authentically represent the needs of our residents and neighborhoods, taking initiative to invite citizen participation and input. I believe we need to work to make Crystal financially stable and secure and provide property tax relief to our residents. I believe we need to employ effective methods to fight crime in our neighborhoods and keep our streets safe and clean while protecting your privacy and property rights. This job requires meaningful and regular engagement with our community, an ability to work together and think outside of the box, and a sincere desire to cultivate a relationship of mutual trust and understanding between City Hall and our residents. I love my town and care about our future, and I'm committed to being an honest, open, and involved and responsible council representative. To learn more about my campaign, you may go to my website, olgaparsons.com. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this forum tonight, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much. And now John Budashevsky.
Thank you for being here tonight. I am John Budashevsky. I am your Crystal City Council member. I have been a resident of the city of Crystal since 1997. I have sorry, the volume there is kind of threw me. I've been a longtime resident of the city of Crystal. Originally from St. Paul, I graduated from Humboldt High School and also from the University of Minnesota. My wife and I chose to make our home here in Crystal, and we love this city. We absolutely just feel it's a great place to have a family, and it's a great place to grow up. As your council member, I work hard to keep your taxes low. I also make sure that the issues that come before us, that I explore the issues from all sides before I make a decision. Likewise, the most important thing to me at this time is to not raise your taxes. There have been a few initiatives in front of the city council in which there's a few members that would like to raise property taxes, most notably for mill and overlay, and I'm opposed to that. Secondly, secondly, I'd also like to say that the County Road 81 Levy 2 needs to expire as well. Initially, when I got involved in politics, the County Road 81 was under construction, and it was promised at that time that the money that was used, the Crystal portion that was used to reconstruct that road, and once the road was completed, that money would go back to the people. I think there has been an initiative to use that money for the Major Building Replacement Fund, and I think that money belongs to you and it should go back to you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you both very much. And now it's time for the audience questions. You may continue to write and raise your hand for a league member to collect your question during the course of the forum. Again, questions may be directed to an individual or both candidates, and each candidate has an opportunity to respond to any question. It's our intention to select questions that express the interest expressed by the members of our audience and those who submit questions. We do reserve the right to consolidate questions if there are several on one issue, so that as many issues as possible may be covered during this period. Questions will be answered in rotating order, and the first one to answer will be John Budashevsky. And here we go right away. What are your thoughts on Crystal's current water supply versus drilling wells?
We are in the process of drilling an emergency well for the city of Crystal. We're part of the Joint Waters Commission with Golden Valley and New Hope. The reason why we're drilling the emergency water supply is because of Minneapolis, where we get our water from. They are preparing for an emergency plan, and they were going to increase the cost of water here to the city of Crystal. We talked about it as a council, and we chose to work with the adjoining cities to put forth an emergency water supply so that we could mitigate that cost to you as a taxpayer. We also felt that if there was ever a situation, and we've run into it, I mean, we had the water main break twice in Robbinsdale, and that's your water, that we would have some type of backup plan in case there was ever a situation. Thank you.
All right, and Olga.
Yes, I absolutely support emergency preparedness for Crystal. Having emergency water supplies is the right thing to do, and I'm happy that this is taking place. I would also support a community initiative to educate the community, the residents, on how you can be prepared for an emergency as well.
All right, well, thank you both very much. Here is the next question. What is the biggest challenge facing our city? And we'll start with Olga.
I think two issues are at play right now. Keeping Crystal financially stable and secure and providing property tax relief to our residents, and also our approach to government has a lot to do with our success as a city. Do we have a top-down authoritative system of government, or is our government rooted in community where where your voices are heard and valued? So a lot goes out from how we approach government, and a lot has to do with that. So financially, Crystal absolutely must stay stable and sustainable, and our property taxes must be stable, and our approach to government must be careful also.
Thank you very much. And John?
Thank you. I agree with that statement, and we have been fiscally stable here in the city of Crystal. By law, we're required to have a balanced budget every year, and this is a city where we don't do anything unless we can pay for it, and we make very sound fiscal decisions based on that. Likewise, I also think that we're constantly listening to the people. We have open forums, that we have people that can address the council. We have direct lines to us that people can call, email, whatnot, so that we're able to respond to any question that the city might, or the people of the city might have. Likewise, I also think that the best thing about this city is that we are well managed. We really think about what's in the best interest of the people. It's not an authoritative top-down situation as what Olga is describing. It's about the people that live here and the community that we've built and maintaining that community and making sure that they have core services. Thank you.
Okay, here is the next question. That will be John, who was answering this one first. Some incumbents have stated that they have kept property taxes low, but voted to charge an assessment for upcoming road maintenance. Do you think it's fair having different assessment costs from one area to the next?
No, I don't think it's fair to have different assessment costs from one area to the next. We've maintained the 60-40 split, which has been the policy in place by the city of Crystal. That's been enacted since 1995. There's no difference or change in that policy going forward. The current council had 3 plans in front of them. One, where it was put on the property tax rolls. I totally disagreed with that because we have 3 phases, phases 14, 15, and 16, that haven't seen any road reconstruction whatsoever, and they are going to start paying for road reconstruction costs for mill and overlay. I was totally opposed to that. The other option was full assessment. Full assessment would be so expensive to the homeowner, and it would basically stating that the homeowner is the only one that's using the road. And with that plan, I didn't feel I was fair because you would find that the cost for that assessment would be about as much as what you would expect to pay for road reconstruction. And lastly, the 60-40 split, I think that's the most fair. I mean, at least there's some, thank you.
You know, I certainly will allow you to finish your sentence.
All right, I see the stop. And
I know you saw it and you were just...
Might as well not break rules now, right, huh?
Well, I should have said that in the beginning. Yeah. If you see that stop sign and you're in the middle of a sentence, please finish your sentence. But don't make it a compound sentence.
True. Okay.
All right, Olga Parsons.
Thank you. I want to state that an assessment is a tax. It is just another way for you to pay for services. So to say that the City of Crystal has not raised your property taxes is not true. Many residents end up paying $6,000 out of pocket of money that they have saved, either for their vacation or for their emergency funds, to pay for road reconstruction. So let's call it what it is. It is a tax. It's just another way to get money out of our residents to pay for a service. Having said that, the 60-40 split, I think, combines the worst of both worlds. You get a tax and you also get an assessment. So it hurts everyone and it is not a good situation. So I would like for us going forward to find methods to make it easier on our residents.
Well, I'm going to let you continue with this because we have another question here which may allow you to talk a little bit more about this. What do you believe is the most fiscally responsible way to keep Crystal's infrastructure in good shape? And that would be for you first, Olga.
I think we need to have a thorough review of our budget. I've heard it said that the budget is the most important aspect of a council member's job, and it is true, absolutely. Community currently does not really have any input in how the budget is managed and decided. We don't have any meaningful community input. So we need to have a community-driven review of our budget that is thorough to figure out where we are wasting money and where we are spending well, and that way our core services will be prioritized on top, and anything that is wasteful and unnecessary will be eliminated. all reflecting the values of our community. Thank you.
And John?
Thank you. That's a great point. You have heard that the budget is one of the most important things that the city council does. In the budget meetings that we had here at the city council, none of the new candidates, not Olga, not Jeff, not Elizabeth, they did not show up for those meetings. That is probably the most important meeting that a council member can be a part of. And I would think that anybody who would want to run for this office would be there to be part of that budget meeting, because that is Crystal going forward. And for them to avoid those meetings, I think it's just horrible. I mean, I think that should be a mandatory requirement for all candidates to attend those meetings, period. As for road reconstruction, I think that the current method that Crystal has for building the roads is the fairest. I mean, we've all gone through it from phase 1 through 13. Why should all of a sudden should change for 14, 15, and 16? Plus, I also think that if you look at surrounding communities that either have full assessment or on the tax rolls and the quality of the roads that they have, it's unfortunate. You'll never see that money. You'll never see that money built, going back into your community, improving your infrastructure. Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to our next question, and this one will be for you first, John.
Thank you.
How should Crystal handle the LGA, which is local government aid funds?
Local government aid is for core services, police and fire. We support the surrounding cities. We are called upon to support them in the case of a fire or an emergency within their city itself, and that's what the money's used for. Currently, there's a few people that would like to take that money and use that for fund accounting, put it into a fund for like the building replacement fund. I don't agree with that. It is there for the people. It is there to be able to support police and fire. Thank you.
And Olga?
I believe local government aid, it is dangerous to rely on local government aid with our core services because it's unstable, it fluctuates. One year it's one amount, the next year it's a different amount. I think we need to put local government aid into our capital budget, which has the police and fire, the needs of a police and fire in there. So yes, local government aid should go to police and fire into the capital budget so that our operating budget does not depend on a fluctuating money source, so that we are sustainable and stable financially. Thank you.
All right, and you will answer the next question first. And this one is, the city codes in Crystal fill a 6-inch binder. Would you support a task force to review and streamline these codes?
Absolutely. Just like we need a thorough review of the budget, we need a thorough review of our city code, which has many outdated and even comical regulations. So I would invite everyone to, if you can, take a look at the city code and see what is in there. It provides for some very entertaining reading. So the weed list, for example, I think can go. Our mayor is no longer inspecting lawns, I believe. There are a number of issues that we can change there, and having a commission or a task force made up of citizens from the community would be a very good idea.
John?
The forester inspects the lawns for the mayor. I mean, that's his job, that's what he does.
Certainly.
As for the city code and the ordinances, they're constantly under review. As things come up that are outdated, we review those ordinances and we put forth new ordinances. Excuse me, you have your phone on, sir? Oh, okay. All right. Anyways, so we put forth new ordinances that will help bring everything up to par. As for review of those ordinances, we have commissions. We have the Planning Commission, we have the EQC, we have Human Rights, we have commissions that are made from people from our community that we work with them to have proper input on what these commissions and what these ordinances should be. And to say that it's out of date, that we need another separate commission to be able to review ordinances when it's already going on, doesn't make any sense. So I have to disagree with that statement. And I think that as a whole, the city council, the city staff, they do a very good job in terms of managing that information. Thank you.
All right, here's a question about city commissions. What ways would you suggest to involve more citizens on city commissions? And this is for John.
Thank you very much. It starts with energizing the commission itself. I mean, I myself I'm the liaison to the Human Rights Commission. And we've had a few new members to the commission itself, and it's because the people that are on the commission themselves are talking to their neighbors. As they meet people, they're getting them involved in what the Human Rights Commission does, and they're excited about where it's going. Also, I think that if you can find ways in which, there are issues within the community. Like, for instance, we had one member join the Human Rights Commission because she had a situation where they had an event at the community center, and they weren't allowed to have a certain type of ethnic food there. And so she felt that it was important for her to join the Human Rights Commission so that she could express that disappointment in what they could use the community center for. And I think as those issues come up, I think you find people within the community that move forward, become part of these commissions, and then eventually end up here on the city council. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Olga.
Commissions are a wonderful way to get citizens involved who would like to serve in that capacity, and we have a number of them, as Mr. Budichevsky stated. Having a city code commission would be a very, I think, interesting way to get some new people involved. Absolutely.
All right, that was a quick answer there. Here is our next question, and this will be yours, first of all.
Thank you.
Olga.
Oh, for Olga or for me?
Excuse me, it would be Olga.
Okay, sorry.
What would you do to support the growth of small business in the city of Crystal?
Just like there are a number of outdated city codes, I think there are some regulations that are preventing businesses to come to Crystal, or at least barriers that we have to do more work to get them to come here. So reviewing those with the input from our business community, the Crystal Business Association, is a very good idea. We need to listen, first of all, to our business community, see what they have to say, see what their needs are, make sure we're connected to them and are really in tune with what they need, and take their advisement into consideration.
All right, and John?
Thank you. What we're seeing now, and I think it's partly because of having Target in our community, we have a rather vibrant retail community that's happening as a result of Target. I think you're finding a lot of businesses that have similar niches that are moving into Crystal and becoming part. Like, for instance, Aldi's one, the most recent one. We have a new Starbucks noodles that's being built on the corner of West Broadway and Bass Lake Road. So we're starting to see, businesses like that start to flourish in this community as a whole. Plus, also, I think we need to be able to enable people to be able to start a business. I mean, in front of the city council, we had an organization that did gap financing. A lot of times it's very difficult for people to move from their present situation, working to having their own businesses because the financing isn't in place. And being able to have some type of advocacy or a way of being able to, the gap financing for them to be able to start their own business, I think is something that we here in Crystal should support. Unfortunately, that information went out to the Crystal business community, and the Crystal Business Community Association said they just weren't interested, and they didn't really think about it in terms of what was best for Crystal. I think they ended up thinking about what was best for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, here's a question. I don't think in all the time I've been to candidate forums, and I've been to a lot of them, that I've ever seen, and so I've got to ask it. And John, you will be the first one. What are some of your outside-the-box ideas for the city of Crystal?
Thank you. Most notably, what I'm proposing for the city of Crystal is I want to do something about the train whistles. I think we need to put up a barrier at the train crossing so that cars can't go around the crossing arms, and that way we can make kind of like these silent crossing areas within wards 3 and 4. I think right now you have trains that are going through, they're very loud, and I just don't see that that changing unless we do something to prevent that. Also, I would like to do something about busy streets. I think that we need to do something about people using our reliever streets and the secondary roads to cut through to avoid stop signs and traffic lights. Likewise, we have a lot of heavy trucks that seem to like pick our roads over going to the major truck routes. I also think maybe trying to do additional patrols in those areas that would, I think would probably maybe might help us in terms of, mitigating some of that stuff and getting an overall safer community. Thank you.
Okay, and Olga?
Yes, I absolutely also support doing something about the train whistles. That's the biggest concern as I've been door knocking. As far as thinking outside of the box, I think oftentimes listening to will sound unfortunate, but listening to our community, being involved in the community for a council member, not just during election time, like I've said, but as a lifestyle, to be out there involved and door knocking, which isn't just for campaign season anymore, and to listen to what people have to say so that there are a lot of a healthy exchange of ideas going on. So that's what I mean by thinking outside of the box, outside of the city council room, which can be a box, or even a partisan box. Listening to each other, breaking down the party barriers, really working as a community, we'll come up with a lot of really great ideas to solve the issues that we're facing. So certainly safe streets and quiet neighborhoods is a very good thing that I support, and also working together as a community.
Well, you have two very well-spoken candidates up here tonight. That is the end of this session for these two candidates. Thank you very much. Audience? There will just be a couple-minute break while we get our two next candidates.
Closing statement.
I'm so carried away with out of the box. Okay. That's what happened. All right, John, you will be the first one for a closing statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight. And I appreciate your time and effort to listen to me. I also would like to say it's been a great pleasure meeting with you out on the campaign trail. Door knocking is one of the things I enjoy the most. When I do meet somebody, I ask them if they have any questions about the upcoming election, and if they have any questions about me, and I'm willing to answer any question that you have at any time, and that's not an issue. I'd also like you to know that my goal is to meet with you, to hear about your life, to understand what's important to you in living in Crystal. Plus, also, I want you to know that I've decided to make Crystal my home, and I wouldn't live anywhere else. Matter of fact, when I'm outside the city, I'm talking about Crystal. I meet a lot of young people that are coming up in this world in the industry that I work, and I always refer to this as beautiful Crystal. It's fantastic. And lastly, I want you to know that I am very proud to be your council member, and that it's an honor and a privilege to serve in this role. And I think about it at every meeting and every situation where I'm representing you. So thank you for your vote, and good night.
And Olga.
We need to reevaluate our approach to city government. I believe that a top-down authoritative system does not serve our community and residents well. I believe we need a more holistic approach to government, rooted in community, where the voices of individual residents are heard and valued. This is the approach I bring to the table, and this is my commitment to you, to be an accessible, involved, engaged, and responsible council representative. You can learn more about my campaign on my website, olgaparsons.com, and thank you so very much for your questions and for organizing this meeting for the League of Women Voters. Thanks.
Thank you again. So these are the candidates for Section 2, and now there will be a brief break while candidates from Ward 1 take their places, and that would be Elizabeth Dahl and Mark Hoffman. Our Section 1 candidate forum, so thanks for your attention. We have two candidates here, Elizabeth Dahl and Mark Hoffman. Just to repeat, the timekeeper who is sitting right in front of you here will assist you and indicate how much time remains and when to stop. So I'm sure you can see him clearly. We'll have our opening statements of up to 2 minutes, and our first candidate will be Mark Hoffman.
Very good. Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for giving us this opportunity with the forum tonight. I think it's very important. I'm your current City Council person for Ward 1 in South Crystal. I've lived in Crystal for 38 years with my wife Joni. We've raised 3 kids and I have 8 grandchildren. My education is I have a BS degree in business administration from St. Cloud State College. And a few things that I've done coming up to this, when I was in my younger days with the kids, I coached Little League and Babe Ruth. I was involved with the Crystal Hockey and Armstrong Hockey youth organizations on the board of directors, not as anybody on the ice. I wasn't able to do that. I am currently and have been for a long time a member of Sacred Heart Parish in Robbinsdale. I was on the finance committee there. I was also on the parish council and have been president of the parish council. So active over there. And obviously I've been your city council person and EDA commissioner for the last 19 years. So I enjoy the time, I enjoy serving you, and I look forward to serving another 4 years. It's a fun time of the year when we go out. We meet more people than we normally do. There's kind of the misnomer out there that we get phone calls all the time, and we really don't get a lot of contact from the city. So we do go out. I continually meet people at Cub and other places, and we have good conversations and slows you down, but it's always a good time. The one thing I do when I knock on doors, I always introduce myself first, and I ask, what are your problems and concerns? And quite honestly, Crystal's a pretty healthy community. There are very, very few big problems. My biggest ones now have been a bridge at the golf course down at Bassett Creek Park, and also having recycling bins in our parks, which we usually have a garbage but not recycling. So we're fairly good that way, that we are a good community and we keep it run that way. I also, you've heard it a few times in the last one, I think the budget and operations for the annual year are the most important thing we do. And that'll have to do.
You'll have more time to talk.
I'm sure.
Elizabeth Dahl.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Dahl, and I'm running for City Council in Ward 1. I moved here 4 years ago with my husband and 3 children. We've enjoyed this area so much. We moved here because of family, but we've found that we love the area and we love the people that we're getting to know in our neighborhoods. They've quickly become friends. I became interested in city politics because this is where my children are growing up. This is where my nieces and nephews are growing up. It is important to me that the city continue to be the sort of place that we want to live. It became a priority for me to know my neighbors and become active in the community because I just think this is the best way to live. We want to do good in the world. It's important to start first with the people that you live around on a regular basis. So that's part of the reason why I became very passionate about the city and the politics that are going on right here. It wasn't until my neighbors started prodding me that I began to think about seriously running as a city council representative. And in the end, I'm doing this for them, and I'm doing it for all of you, really. When I first started running, I ran because there were some issues that my own neighbors in my own neighborhood were having, and as I've gone door to door speaking with people, I've found that a lot of the issues are the same. People are not feeling like they are being listened to. They are feeling like they are not being heard. It's all over. At the very least, people should feel that they are being listened to and respected. I was honored to have won over 57% of the vote in my ward during the primary election. It was a very exciting and humbling time for me, and it's the people, they're speaking, they're telling us that it's time for a change in Crystal.
Thank you both. Now it's time for audience questions. You may continue to write and raise your hand for a league member to collect your question during the course of the forum. And again, your questions may be directed toward individuals or to both candidates, but each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to any question. And it's our intention to select questions that represent the interest expressed by the members of our audience. Again, we may consolidate questions if there are several questions on one issue so that as many may be answered during this period. Questions will be answered in rotating order. So the first one to answer will be Elizabeth Dahl. And let's start with this one. Do you support making Crystal more bike-friendly, and how would you do that?
Well, I think it is very important that we have safe bike trails. Incredibly important. I know that this is one of the, it's a very dangerous thing for people to be out riding bikes, not wearing helmets, or riding bikes in areas that are heavily populated by cars, could easily cause accidents. It's one of my great fears to accidentally hit a biker. So I think that we need to be active in our community, looking at what we can do to make these bike trails safer, speaking with others that are active on these trails.
All right, and Mark?
Okay, I think Crystal's done a fairly decent job, but you can always do a better job with the bike trails. We've had them for quite a while. We have, part of the use of our MSA streets that we have striped, it's for parking, but it's also for bikes, so they don't actually have to use the sidewalks. I was a firm supporter, and I helped with the Three Rivers Park Organization running their bike trails and their major trails through the city of Crystal. At this point, you can go from Medicine Lake, which we'll pick up further west. It goes through the city of Crystal. It goes through Golden Valley. You tie into Theodore Wirth and the Minneapolis bike system. So again, very bike friendly. We have a bike path that's been redeveloped with the help of the county, adjacent to County 81 all the way to the north. So again, we have a very excellent bike path going forward. And you know, I can honestly say I've been working on, you know, all these projects for probably over 10 or 12 years. So I do believe it's a good effort. You see more and more families biking than you ever have. So let's try to keep it safe.
Thank you very much. We have a lot of questions about road reconstruction, mill and overlay, and all of these issues, how to afford it, how to do it. So I know there is agreement and disagreement on these, so I'm going to ask you your thoughts on the street restoration. And Mark Hoffman, you are first.
Okay, I'll go forward. I have been very much in support of the assessment system. Part of that is just based on how well it has worked over the last 30, 40 years in the city of Crystal. The every 7-year seal coats have always been by assessment. The road construction has been by assessment with a 40-60% split. And I felt that worked very well for the mill and overlays. On the mill and overlay, we are going to be doing this for the next, till 2038 is the quickest it can be done. So we're asking people to make a 10% tax increase on their taxes over this period of time. I think the assessment in the long run is a cheaper. If everybody, and I want you to go home and look at your tax statements tonight. When you look at your tax statement, it says property tax and assessments. I don't think anybody anywhere has ever had that the assessment is not a tax, because you are paying for it, but it's time certain. You know when it's going to end, and it's over, and you can pay it off anytime you want to pay it off as a whole. So I think that's the fair way, rather than going forward for 38 years, you know, taxing people.
Thank you very much. And Elizabeth?
This is one of the issues that my own neighborhood, Winnetka Hills, really had an issue with the current city council. I found, as I talked to my neighbors, first of all, they were not really aware of what was going on. They didn't understand, even though they got letters in the mail, they were not very clear. That is one of the ways where I think that we need a more user-friendly approach to how we send letters to people. The other thing is that the assessment was almost 3 times the price of a just direct sales, direct tax levy. In the end, we chose it was the 60-40 split, which again, I would agree with Olga Parsons is the worst of both worlds. You're going to be taxed more, and you are going to have the assessment. I think everyone should take a look at the difference between an assessment and a straight tax. You will notice that there are financial charges in there, and the interest is not even included in the assessment. That is something that will happen, that you will get in your bill in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going on to a different topic now, and this will be Elizabeth's answer first. What are your thoughts on Crystal's current water supply versus drilling wells?
Well, we need to have an emergency water supply. I don't think that anyone is really arguing about that. As it stands, the Mississippi River, if anything happens to it, becomes polluted, we're going to have a problem. So we do need to look at where we need to drill and decide as a community as well how we want to handle a emergency situation. And I think that that needs to be something that happens on a city basis as well as an individual basis, because each family is responsible for their water. They want to have water, right? So let's try to help the citizens be prepared.
All right, and here's our next question. I'm sorry. Well, I didn't have you, you're right, Mark, excuse me. Excuse me.
Okay, I think it's a very important part for the city right now. And it isn't only the city, it's a joint powers agreement. We share this with New Hope and we share it with Golden Valley. There have been problems where the city of Minneapolis has gotten low on water, and they were worried about what was going to happen. So they're looking at the same proposals right now on drilling. We're drilling we already have one well in New Hope, and we're drilling 4 new wells that are actually in the process right now that'll give us minimal coverage if ever should be a problem with the Minneapolis water supply. It was kind of putting it in our hands so that we'll never be in trouble that we can't have it. I'm pretty proud. 10 years ago, I went before the legislature and I testified to get the ability for the Joint Water Commission to drill these wells. And I think I would have hated to go through that process today, but it was grandfathered in. So it's a good thing for the cities.
Thank you very much. And now this will be your first answer, so you can be sure that I'm not going to forget you this time. Do you support District 281 referendum? And that would involve both questions, the renewal and also the technology piece.
I do think both of them are important to the education of our community. I think anybody knows that our kids are the basis of what's going to happen tomorrow. It's as long as you go and do that. I brought up before the city council, I wanted to get a letter of support, just to say that we do believe the school district is doing the right thing in teaching the kids, but unfortunately, it did not make it to the council floor. We were tied at a work session and it went no further, so it's up to the individuals on the city council to go forward with it. But I think it's important, when you look at the facts that we got, when you look at the technology and that our school district is, in the bottom of the state, basically, I think it's just a poor recommendation on what we've done. And, part of it is, the schools were hurt by $2 million by the legislature for quite a few years that they didn't have any money. And that's kind of what started it. So I think for $3.5 million, it's a very good investment in the future.
Thank you very much. And Elizabeth?
Strong schools are very important to me. I don't think there's a single person in this room who would vote against having a strong school. Our children are our future. It's important that we nurture them for the best future possible. That said, we differ in how, amongst our neighborhoods, amongst the citizens here, we all differ in how we think that should play out. We all differ in how we think the money should be spent, how much money should be spent. So as I've been going through the city, I've been talking with people about this issue, and I see both sides. As your city council representative, I can do nothing to sway this one way or another. I cannot do anything about this. So at this point, I do not think it is good for me to go on the record one way or the other, because it ends up pitting neighbor against neighbor, and this is not my job.
Thank you very much. Here is our next question. What is the role of political parties in nonpartisan city government? Elizabeth, that is your first one.
Well, first of all, I'm running to be your representative, not a party's. I am not the representative of any party. I was under the impression that running for city council was a nonpartisan election. I think that if you're really out to help people in your city, you're listening to the people, and you're not listening to a party. I don't need a party to prop me up or give me money. All of my donations have come from friends and family and neighbors right here in this city. And I'm proud to say that no party will have a claim on my vote.
And Mark Hoffman.
I have gone DFL endorsed on this election. I think it appeared real early that the Republicans were working together, and I said, well, it's time to jump on and really get at it. It is the only financial help that I have taken from anybody. I know my opponent, because I see financial records, has somebody from St. Paul, and other ones are scattered all over the city. So, I mean, they're taking from outside, and what is the thought behind that? I think I think there's nothing wrong with the public knowing what my core values are, that I do believe in a strong, basic, fiscally conservative budgeting, but I also believe there's social issues out there, and I think there's room that we have to help the businesses also, and we've done all those as a city, and I feel my support there has been pretty good, and I decided to align that way. I look at some of the blogs out there, and some of them are from the party on the other side, and they're not nice to me or any of the other members.
All right, and here is the next question, and it is directed to Mark Hoffman, but of course, Elizabeth, you will have an opportunity to answer this as well. So the questioner says, Mr. Hoffman, you say that Crystal is a healthy community. What is your description of a healthy community?
My description of a healthy community is where we are able to offer the core services to the residents. Our core services are public safety, it's our utilities, it's our park and recreation department. Those are the cores. We also offer help to businesses. We offer, through organizations and clubs, other help throughout. So it's really, it's where you can go and know you're not going to be forced out of it by financial misspending. And I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna, my opponent, before she was even on, was proposing a 10% tax increase. Think about that. Think about that. And that to me is not healthy. When you don't worry about the budget, you don't know what the budget involves. I've been talking about squandering money, but when you work on the budget, as long as I have, every single penny counts. Every single penny you can save counts. Every single penny you can bring in counts. We're not talking in hundreds or millions of dollars. We're talking thousands of dollars. And that's what makes a difference.
Thank you very much. And Elizabeth.
A healthy community. First of all, it's a community where the people who are representing are actually listening to the people they represent. And I don't mean just listening as in hearing the words that come out of their mouth. I mean asking them questions, figuring out why they're saying what they're saying, figuring out what is motivating them and what is most important to them. If a city is not doing this, we're not going to be able to thrive. Also, I just wanted to quickly answer. He said that I voted for a 10%, well, I didn't vote. I proposed a 10% tax increase, which is not true. I came to city council when the overlay was coming through my neighborhood, and I asked the city council to look at alternatives to a straight assessment. I did not propose anything. I asked them to look at any other possible way to deal with the money issue at hand.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next question, and you will be the first one to answer this, Elizabeth. What would you do to support the growth of small business in the city of Crystal?
Well, we need to make it easy for businesses to come here. There are a lot of regulations in place. Some of them are, important. We want to make sure that neighbors are being respected. But we also want to make sure that we are not making it unduly difficult for a business to get a start here. There are some wonderful businesses here that are, small upstart businesses. Like Milton's, for instance, which we frequent quite a bit. It's wonderful to see this culture coming to our city. We want to nurture that. So let's take a look at what might be making it more difficult for people to come here and start having those conversations.
Thank you. And Mark?
I think we always want to help businesses. When you look at Crystal, it's the same as our housing market right now for businesses. We don't have many vacancies in commercial buildings. If you're of any size business, you're not going to find a location in Crystal, and we don't have the empty property to pay for it. So we are very open to the in-house businesses. That's where the opportunities lay. It's not in the shopping centers, which are full, and the vacant lands, which we don't have any of. It's the home businesses, and we will do what we can to do it. I think anytime you have regulations, it's really, they're out there to protect the people. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. We had the other one, got the one on codes, and I think we should do like the governor did last year. We should go through these codes and get rid of the garbage, because there is garbage in there. There's no doubt about it. But, help where we can, but in the larger businesses, we do help financially. I mean, that's how Cub's here, that's why Target's here, that's why the Crystal Shopping Center is here, the new apartments in Kavanaugh, because the city is involved.
Okay, and here's my new favorite question. And you'll be the first one to answer this. What are some of your outside-the-box ideas for the city of Crystal?
Okay, it's not really out of the box, but it's fairly new and it's still developing. And I kid you not when I say that, money is the most important to me thing. It's the budget with the city of Crystal. And we're going to have a huge opportunity in a few years at the airport. And we're not going to take over the whole airport, but the airport is looking to lease out land right now for commercial use. And we have to be on top of that and be ready to go. It's a way to capture new businesses, new dollars coming into the city. And it's with land that's vacant, and the airport knows they can't use it anymore. And they are looking at ways to put that land to use. And the city just has to be in there. And I really believe we have to work with the airport, with MAC, rather than against MAC. It always works better. We're going to get our way that way. And I think in the long run, it might be 5 or 6 years, but we're going to see some very nice developments. In County 81 and possibly LRT are going to only help that further along. Thank you.
All right, and Elizabeth?
So here's an out-of-the-box thought. What if we were actually communicating with the people we represent on a regular basis? What if your representative had a website where everything that was important going on in the city was being talked about, or at least a way that you could easily find out what their position was on various things? This is what I intend to do as your city council representative. I have a website. You can go there, and I will put information about the city council meetings that is important for our area.
Well, thank you very much. And now we've reached the final segment of this forum, and each candidate has 1 minute to give a closing statement. So we'll begin in reverse order from the beginning, and that will be with Elizabeth.
Closing statement.
Closing statement.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say that I really respect and I'm really grateful for Mark Hoffman here. He's put in over 20 years, and that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to a certain extent. You love your city, and you want to help it, and you want it to grow. But here's the thing, he's had 20 years. I'm not running against him to criticize him, but I promise I will do things a little bit differently. I'm bringing something new to the table, and this is because so many people have asked me to do so. I don't claim to know everything, but I do have a unifying vision. You will notice that my signs are in DFL, GOP, and independent yards. There's a reason for this. I am the nonpartisan candidate. With me, you will get no more fighting, no more name-calling. More listening and more respectful communication. Thank you.
And Mark Hoffman, please.
First of all, thanks to the League of Women Voters again very much for this opportunity. I think it's good for everybody to know where we're coming from. I may sound like an old record, but I keep going. The annual operating budget is the most important thing we do. Is there communication in the city? I think we have very good communication. We're always open to the residents. I mean, if the residents are afraid to call us, if they're afraid to email me, if they're afraid to go to the city, if they're afraid to look at the city's website to find out what's going on, if they're afraid to look at the post and go no further, that's on their shoulders. We do as much as we possibly can. We have newsletters to keep going, and it's an ongoing process. We can do a lot more, but it costs a lot more. And I tell you, we're pretty conscious on that. I think I was just accused of not being a nice person and having a nasty disposition, and I find that pretty hard to believe. That really isn't my modus operandi at all. Have I ever done it? I probably have, and more within the council than I can't ever remember doing it to a citizen. Thank you very much.
All right, well, you've heard from two fine candidates here for Ward 1 of Crystal. Thank you very much, both of you, for your answers to questions and your statements. We'll have a brief break while the candidates from Ward 2 take their place. We have the candidates from Ward 2 sitting here at the table, Jeff Kolb and Joseph Selton. Again, just to recap, you can see the timekeeper, I'm sure. He'll indicate how much time remains and when to stop, and I will ask you to complete your sentence, then not cut you off in mid-sentence, but then I'm sure you will know to stop. So we're going to begin with our 2-minute opening statements, or up to 2 minutes. And the first candidate to speak will be Joseph Selton.
Hello, I'm Councilmember Joe Selton. As a resident of Ward 2 for 34 years, it's been an honor and privilege to serve and represent the citizens of Crystal for the last 8 years. I'm a husband, father, and also a grandfather to 8 perfect grandchildren. Education, I'm a graduate of Patrick Henry High, North Minneapolis. I hold a degree in automotive mechanics from Anoka Tech Center in Anoka. I'm a graduate of the University of Minnesota, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and also the William Wimpson Singer Education and Technology Center, Hollywood, Maryland, in labor relations and labor studies. Current profession, I'm a full-time journeyman truck mechanic for Bimbo Baking Group, Roseville, Minnesota, for the last 35 years. As the current council member for Ward 2, despite a recession and loss of over $4 million in state aid to the city, I have shown a proven track record over the last 8 years, along with the help of my colleagues, of coming up with a justified and balanced city budget each year, which holds the line on property and tax increases, utilizes and protects reserves given to us by previous councils, and protects and maintains Crystal's infrastructure investments and services. I believe a budget should reflect what is valued by the community and protects the health and safety and investments of our community. I will continue to be committed to a common sense approach to the city budget because I'm a blue-collar worker and I also pay taxes to the city. I will continue to serve citizens by listening and calling on them to participate in keeping our city a great place to live, work, and play. I will continue to look for ways to improve the processes of procedures through citizen input and feedback. And finally, I'm committed to effective and timely response to citizens who request information or assist with problem resolution and fair and equal representation of all citizens of Ward 2. Therefore, I again reapply for the council member position and again ask for your vote November 4th. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. And now Jeff Kolb.
All right, thanks, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting and providing the forum tonight. I want to start by actually thanking my opponent, Mr. Joe Selton, for his years of service to the community. Although Joe and I disagree on some issues, and I think we'll get into that in a couple minutes here, I do acknowledge that serving on the council is a big time commitment, and it's also a very important public service. So thank you, Joe, for your service to our community.
Thank you.
I'd also like to thank you for the clean campaign we've had so far. Unlike some of the other races around here, we haven't had any name calling or personal attacks, so I really appreciate that. But enough about Joe, we're here to talk about me. My name is Jeff Kolb, and I'm running for city council here in Crystal. I believe I'm the best candidate to represent the citizens of Ward 2. I have the right mix of experience and fresh perspective that's required to move Crystal forward. As a planning commissioner, I'm familiar with how our city government operates. As a board member of the Crystal Business Association and a small business owner myself, I'm in touch with the needs of the business community. And as a first-time candidate, I bring a fresh set of eyes to look at the issues facing the city. I believe that Crystal is a great place to live, work, and shop. That's why my wife and I chose to raise our family here. But I also believe that we have some room for improvement. I'd like to be part of keeping Crystal great for the next generation. I believe the most important trait of a successful representative is that they are responsive to the citizens they represent. Since this campaign began, I have been out talking to many neighbors, listening to their concerns, and building relationships. I have personally knocked on over 1,750 doors, and I have a collection of these concerns that I'm ready to carry forward on day one. I was honored to receive the most votes of any Ward 2 candidate in the primary election in August, and I hope that I can earn your vote on November 4th. So thank you very much to the audience for being here or watching on TV or out on the internet, wherever you are, and I look forward to the discussion tonight.
All right, thank you very much. We have a number of questions having to do with roads, maintenance, repair, other capital expenditures in Crystal. So I'm just going to ask them kind of in a row. And they have to do with how you believe would be the most fiscally responsible way to manage these things. So here's the first one. Do you believe we need a new $15 million maintenance building? And Jeff, you'll be the first one to answer that.
Okay. Yes and no. I do believe that we need a new maintenance building. I don't believe that it needs to cost $15 million. I've followed this process of building the new maintenance facility, and one of the frustrations I have is that the new facility, although it's going to be on a much larger lot and it's going to be brand new, is not going to have all of the functions that were in the old facility. The old facility was being replaced because it was substandard. So I really have a hard time understanding how we move to a lot that's 3 times the size, but we can't get all the stuff from that facility over to this facility. I think the costs have ballooned on this project, and I don't think it's been managed in a fiscally responsible manner. So while I do agree that we should have the facility, I am not happy with the way that the project has turned out so far.
All right, and then Joe, would you like to respond to that question?
Yes, the subject of the public works building was brought up in an infrastructure assessment we had maybe in 2011, and it's been an ongoing issue. Currently, the current public works building, looking at code violations, to bring that up to where it needs to be would be about $5 million. So the thought on the council was to bring and build a new building. The issue that comes up is we still haven't, after 18 months, figured out financing for the new public works building. It's still in flux, and we did vote to start building that building. I just want the citizens to realize that I voted against that building because of the issue of the financing. And I'll still hold that until we can figure out how we're going to finance it, so make sure that we don't hamstrung the city in the future as far as other building or remodelings.
Thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next infrastructure question, and that has to do with street restoration, maintenance. So we'd like your thoughts on this, and we'll start with Joe.
I think the reconstruction of the streets has helped Crystal out to improve property values immensely. And if you look at the communities surrounding us, it's like we're going on the logging roads once we leave Crystal. You're not going to lose a part off your car in Crystal. I feel it's important that the city has a skin in the game. That's why we have, and I think it was a good policy of the 60-40 split, where the city invests 40% of the cost and the citizens pay 60%. And also I feel that when we did those and we bonded, it was beneficial also to help the citizens out with their driveways and sewer lines, so that if they felt they needed to put a new driveway in or a sewer line, they could also borrow that money and put it on their taxes too. I think it's been a real good program and has done real well to make Crystal a really inviting place to live and a clean looking place to live.
Thank you. And Jeff?
Thanks. Well, it's going to be a pretty similar answer to the last one in that I support the street reconstruction projects that are going on out there, but I don't think they've been managed quite effectively. I will say that it's one of the biggest concerns that when I'm out talking to people, and this is where you really start to see the disconnect between the city staff and the residents. One of the biggest complaints that I get from people is how their street construction projects were managed, and some of where things have fallen substandard, or where they had some concerns with the city and staff came out and told them, they were wrong. I talked to one woman who almost lost all of the bushes in her front yard but she just happened to be home that day and got them to stop, but was never informed that all those bushes were being removed. So, yes, we need to do these projects, but we need to do them in a responsible manner where we're respecting the citizens while we're doing them.
Thank you very much. Again, we have quite a few questions on this next subject, and it has to do with small business. So here is the question, and you will be the first one, Jeff, to answer this.
Okay.
What specific obstacles would you remove to improve access for small business to succeed?
Okay, well, as I've mentioned before, I am a board member with the Crystal Business Association, so I am in touch with the small businesses in this community, and I am a small business owner myself. I think that we do have some unnecessary code and regulation that's out there that's stopping people from building successful businesses. I also think that we could do a much better job of marketing the city of Crystal to prospective businesses and to small business owners, and making it very clear that we are business friendly. I think we have an opportunity to leverage the Crystal Business Association. I think they are an asset that the city has that is kind of underutilized at this point, and so that's something that I'd like to explore going forward also.
Thank you very much. And Joe?
I'm in full support of the Business Association for Crystal. One of the things that keeps reoccurring in discussion here is regulations, unnecessary code, and a situation like that that's restricting businesses from coming into the city of Crystal. The problem I have is I don't know of anything that's been restrictive. I don't know of anybody. I hope that the Crystal Business Association will bring these to the city so that we can take action on there, because I want to make sure that we develop the Broadway area along Bass Lake Road. We have some shopping malls there that need some major work. And if there's some restrictions that we're imposing on businesses to come into this Crystal, I'd like to know, because I fully support any businesses coming in, because we need them. We need their tax revenue, and that'll take the burden off the property taxes for the citizens.
Thank you. And Joe, you'll be the first one to answer this next question. What ways would you suggest to involve more citizens on our city's commissions?
Well, I think we have numerous commissions. Anybody that wants to join can join. The problem is we have a small enrollment. We have a lot of open positions, and I feel that we need to fill those, that people need to step up if they're afraid to. It's not a lot of work. I think we need to energize some of these commissions and not stifle them when they come forth with any issues to the city council, and have full vetting on any issues that they do bring. So I'm full for any participation or anything that the citizens want to do. I think there should be a youth commission for the city of Crystal and get input from our youth so that we know what their issues are.
All right, thank you very much. And Jeff?
Well, as a member of the Planning Commission, I clearly understand the value of serving on a commission and what experience that can bring. And actually, one of the things that I've been doing as I've been out door knocking has been looking for prospective members to fill these commissions, because I think that there has been an approach that, well, these jobs are out here or these positions are out here, but nobody applies for them. Well, who's going out and actually recruiting and convincing people that that's something that they should step up and try? And I guess at this point the answer is me, because I've talked to a number of people who are going to apply for a commission or have already applied for a commission based on conversations that we had while I was out campaigning and door knocking. So I think that we can get these commission positions filled, and I think that's better, and it's more healthy for the city if they are. And I think a youth commission would be a great idea.
Okay. And here is our next question. And again, this is one that was asked at the at Ward 1, and this is about the District 281 referendum. Jeff, you'll be the first one. Do you support the District 281 referendum? And that would be both questions, both the renewal and the technology.
Sure. I'm in favor of strong schools. Everybody's in favor of strong schools. I have a son. He's 1 year old. He's going to be going to school soon, and I want him to have strong schools. I was pleased to be able to meet with the superintendent and some members of the school board to hear about the referendum. I believe that that it was very carefully considered and carefully crafted. That being said, I'm not going to take a public position on this. I've had conversations with residents who are fully in support of it, and I've had conversations with residents who say, if you guys keep raising my taxes, I can't afford to live here anymore. And so I'm not going to be arrogant enough to think that I should put my thumb on the scale one way or the other to sway the outcome of this. The process is that citizens should educate themselves and vote on this issue and vote their conscience on it, and that's what I want them to do.
Okay, and Joe, your answer to that?
Well, I'm not going to ride the rail on the issue. I believe that both of them should be voted yes. I'm a firm believer that educating our future workforce through direct involvement of the support of the school referendum is important for the city of Crystal. We need to have the good-paying jobs that we currently have and continue to have those good-paying jobs. When I went to tech school as the automotive, it was free until you were 21 to go to tech school. I think that's the kind of issues that need to be bring back. We're so short of technicians, carpenters, sheet metal workers, mechanics, that we need to let the school do the technical issue where at least they'll bring some of the shop classes back, or at least school our students so that they know how to deal with the outside and be competitive with the outside world.
Thank you very much. Here's another question that is topmost on people's mind, and that is having to do with Crystal's current water supply versus the drilling of wells. So Joe, you will be the first one to answer that.
Well, we had the Joint Water Commission with Crystal, New Hope, and Golden Valley, and the discussions that happened was Minneapolis concerned about their water supply, and they were talking about building new wells themselves. And they wanted to know if City of Crystal and the Joint Water Commission would buy in on assisting them and paying for some of those additional wells in Minneapolis. We felt that we could do a better job. We also had one well in New Hope that was already ready to go. It just needed to be revamped. We decided to build three more, and currently that's what we're doing right now. If you hear any booms, that's dynamite they're using to blow the sand out of the drill holes, and the whooshing is I think they're cleaning out the pipes, getting ready. So I think it's well worth it. You never know if something might happen in a nuclear plant in Monticello that we can't use water for quite a while. And I'm a citizen, or was born on river water. I lived in Minneapolis, so it's great water.
Thank you very much. And Jeff?
Thank you. I'm a little bit confused by the question because the project to create the emergency wells is so far along and is actually done. So I don't know if the question is maybe trying to get at, should we look at a long-term solution that's different than getting water from Minneapolis, which is something that's always made me a bit uneasy, is that our water does come from Minneapolis. And so I think it would be something worth exploring to understand, because you are reliant on somebody else to have water. And we had, a water main break in Robbinsdale, and we had, which almost cut off our water supply. We had some issues with storms. I think that was last year, where we struggled with the water supply. But I'm in support of the emergency procedures that are being put in place right now. I think that's the responsible thing to do. And I do think we should maybe look at where we get our water in the future, and if there's something we could do to leverage those wells on a more permanent basis.
Well, I'm glad you both took it a little further than the question asked, because I think, again, everybody is always concerned about their good water supply. So thank you very much, both of you. Here's a question, and Jeff, you'll be the first one. What is the biggest challenge facing our city?
Well, I identified, when I decided to run for office, I identified 3 things to focus on, and that would be fiscal responsibility, maintaining safe and strong neighborhoods, and oh my goodness, look at that, had a Rick Perry moment right here, and I forgot number 3. Goodness gracious.
Oh, I think I remember someone else having a.
I know, isn't that terrible? So we'll start off with the first 2, making sure that we have a fiscal, I'm going to go off the rails here now, making sure we have strong fiscal management and that we're managing our budget appropriately, and that every dollar spent, we remember, it belongs to the citizens. And then safe neighborhoods, I think that we can do a lot to leverage some of the things that we have in place now. Our National Night Out, I think I'd like to see the Neighborhood Watch program revitalized, because I think that the key to building strong neighborhoods is to have neighbors who feel connected to one another. And I've seen that transition in my neighborhood as we've instituted the National Night Out party over the last 3 years. Our neighbors are much closer together. We talk to each other. Everybody knows who everybody is, and we look out for each other. So, and then I'm sure there's a third point somewhere. It's on a lit piece out there. Sorry.
You know, those 2 are just fine, and you have to stop anyway.
All right, thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What is the biggest challenge facing our city?
Every year, the biggest challenge is coming up with a justified and balanced city budget that holds the line on property tax increases, utilize and protects reserves that were given to us by previous city councils, and we want to protect the infrastructure, investments, and services. And then we also have to finance for future needs of the city of Crystal. But I think the main thing is we've had over 1,100 home foreclosures since 2007. And this has brought us speculative buyers getting into the rental business. And I think the EDA is keeping a real good eye on reviewing the foreclosures and for possible property acquisitions. I think it's a real good program. And also the EDA is making sure that we can get good businesses in town too. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm going to struggle a little bit with this next question because it's not quite as clear, and I'm not a resident of Crystal, and so I am not as familiar with many of these things. But it has to do, it's really directed to Jeff, and it has to do with the city budget, city planning, using bonding to purchase capital things, and wondering how you see the use of bonding in city budgeting.
Okay. Do I get to go first, even though I talked last time?
Did you talk? No?
I think I
Who talked last?
did.
Okay, then you go first. Well, no, it's to Jeff, so we have to,
All right, I'll talk.
reverse
That's
it.
fine, I'll talk.
Here.
That's good. I don't mind talking. I think bonding is an important tool in the toolbox when it comes to talking about financing a city. It's not the only tool in the toolbox. I have a check card in my wallet and I have a credit card in my wallet, and one of them comes out of my bank account right away, and one of them I finance over time. And there's a finance cost associated to that. So, there should be a balance, but bonding's not always the right answer, nor is it a dirty word. I mean, you just need to have the right balance, and you need to look at when it makes sense to borrow and when it doesn't. So I think really it comes down to a balanced approach.
All right, and Joe?
I'm in agreement with the issue of bonding. I think it's part of the toolbox, just like Jeff said. And, for long-term investments that the city are going to make, like a public works or a pool, basically we use bonding for, right now, the only bonds I think we have is for the pool, which was a citizen referendum, and also the bonding that we do on the street reconstruction. And the reason we bond is so that we have money available so that the residents can borrow for their new driveways and their sewers. And then they can put it on a tax they borrow for 5%. I mean, I'm not going to babysit citizens if the assessment is a certain amount, and if they can't pay it off, I at least want a vehicle where they can at least pay a minimum each year for 15 years. And there's no loan that I know of, 5% simple interest for 15 years. In any bank situation, right now that I know of, unless somebody can inform me. So I think we're doing a real good job with bonding. Thanks.
Okay, I've got a whole desk full of questions right here. And so I know that some of you are going to want to ask these afterward, but we need to move right now to the time when our candidates give us their closing statements. And so, I'm sorry about that,
I
but
wanted the out-of-the-box question, man.
I wanted to do it too, and the time just slipped. It was either bonding or budgets or out of the box. So you could cover that in your final
No, I
statement
got a
if
script
you
here. I
want.
gotta keep on.
All right, you begin.
Well, thank you
begin.
again. I begin? Sorry.
You begin.
Okay, I'll start. So thank you again to the League of Women Voters. Boy, this just went off the rails. For hosting this event tonight. My name is Jeff Kolb, and I hope that I can earn your vote to become your next city council representative. I believe Crystal is a great place to live, work, and shop, and I'm running so that we can keep it that way. I believe I have the right mix of experience and fresh perspective necessary to handle the challenges Crystal will face over the next 4 years and to set up Crystal to be successful long into the future. If elected, I look forward to being a responsive and responsible advocate for you. If there's anything I can answer for you, please give me a call at 612-314-5652 or visit me online at kolbforcrystal.com. I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on nextdoor.com. My name is Jeff Kolb, and I'm asking for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Joe Selton?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum to provide the citizens of Crystal with an opportunity to hear the candidates again discuss issues important to them in this election. As a resident of Ward 2 for 34 years, it's been an honor and a privilege to serve as your representative for the last 8 years. I believe a good budget should reflect what is valued by the committee and also protects the investments of our citizens. I'm committed to a common sense approach to a common sense budget. Living in Crystal must be affordable and must continue to be a great place to live. I continue to be committed to effective and timely response to citizens' requests for information assistance and also fair and equal representation of all citizens of Ward 2. And most importantly, I believe a council member must serve for the right reason, for the good of the citizens they represent. Therefore, I reapply for the position of council member for Ward 2, and again ask for your vote for Joe Selton on November 4th. If you do have any issues, feel free to call me, because I don't know if anything's wrong unless you call me. Thanks for your time and consideration.
And we want to thank the candidates, all 6 of them, and the audience here tonight for your part in the forum tonight. Let's have a big hand for those candidates.
We would like to thank the candidates and moderator Brown for participating in this forum. The election will be held on Tuesday, November 4th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you're not a registered voter, you may register at the polls if you have been a resident of the state for at least 20 days before the election, have a valid Minnesota's driver's license, learner's permit, or Minnesota identification card, or receipt for any of these. Showing the correct address of the precinct, you may also register accompanied by a registered voter in the precinct who will take an oath along with the election judge that you qualify to vote in that precinct. Any voter may vote early by using an absentee ballot instead of voting in person at the polling place on election day. You can vote absentee by mail, in person at your Crystal City office, or by having a person you know pick up and deliver your ballot for you. There is information on the table outside this room regarding hours of your city office. Or you can go to the Secretary of State's voter website, mnvotes.org, for more information. For specific questions about voting absentee, please call the City Clerk of Crystal. If a member of this audience or our cable TV audience feels an issue has not been adequately addressed, League of Women Voters urges you to contact the candidates directly. Campaign literature provided by the candidates is on a table in the hallway outside this room. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Membership is open to men and women of all ages. For more information about League of Women Voters, visit www.lwvmn.org and follow the prompts to our local league, the Crystal, New Hope, East Plymouth League. We would also encourage you to become a member as we provide service to our community and to join us in the nonpartisan study of local, state, and national issues. Please pick up some of the league's information available here tonight. Tonight's forum will be replayed on Northwest Cable Channel 12 on Sunday, October 26th at 1 p.m. It will also be streamed on www.12.tv.org. And again, let's give a good round of applause for all of the candidates.